Hello.
Hello there, chaps. I'm David Firth, father of Colin Firth, son of David Letterman, and next in line to the throne. I animate things.
Oh, them's trousers a bit posh, sunshine.
Oh my.
David Firth was born on January the 23rd, 1984 in Doncaster, England. He is a video artist, animator and writer that is widely known for creating the strange and off-the-wall salad fingers.
Don't you crumple your face up at me, Hubert Jason Cumberdale. We've a duty to fetch the doctor.
David Firth takes a horror black comedy approach to his work, creating some of the most remarkable and original pieces out there. Most of his work is distributed via the internet, including the renowned Adobe Flash animation website Newgrounds. A lot of his work is done in Flash animation, and he has done quite a few music videos in his time, and other forms of video art as well.
You know what I just said, and turn your brain off.
Maybe you can come and tuck me in tonight. Sailor.
Firth's animations have been featured on big-time TV channels such as BBC, doing television programmes and commercials, etc. David explores a large quantity of dark topics in his video art, topics of surreal nature like depression, mental illness, usually having a powerful meaning behind them.
You could meet the man or woman of your dreams today using our fabulous video dating service.
For a lot of inspiration for his animations, he tends to go to several locations to give him ideas, e.g. for textures, places for his films, etc. that will inspire him. He claims that the atmosphere of certain areas help him to conjure up designs. He claims that it does not take much inspiration from TV shows he watches, and more the dreams that he has, and how one randomly flows into another with no explanation at all to what is going on.
Hello. I like to listen to my radio. I listen to the war.
Salad Fingers is about a mentally unstable green man that lives in some form of post-apocalyptic world, and gets his name from his long strange fingers that seem to get pleasure from touching certain objects. Sounds weird, right? Well, right off the bat, he already sets the scene for an out of the ordinary series. In the show, he seems to have the idea that he can communicate with inanimate objects, giving them names and talking to them, etc.
He gets a little uppity when he hasn't had his sustenance.
He lives in solitude, in a small shack which seems to be isolated from any form of society. Although it does seem dark and gloomy, there is definitely some comedy features behind it, as there's some memorable funny moments looking back on it.
Ugh, Hubert Cumberdale, you taste like soot and poo.
The dark and atmospheric music used was actually created by the video artist himself, as it was him playing the guitar, but slowed down and reversed. Other music was created by people such as Aphex Twin, etc.
Help. Help me. Help.
So what were David's inspirations for the show? Well, the original idea actually came from one of David's first friends saying it looks like he's got salad fingers when he plays the guitar. But the initial idea was created by him, with also the assistance of the friend. Together this sparked ideas, like how he enjoys touching metal, for example.
I like rusty spoons. I like to touch them.
In the creation of this strange, deranged man, they were thinking of some dialogue using this weird, creepy voice, which then actually became the voice for the main character, Salad Fingers. So overall, the idea for the show was made from all these unusual scenarios thought by him and his friend, like the talking radio, etc., which then became the basis for what has become Salad Fingers.
Hubert Cumberdale, fancy seeing you here. Somewhere over the rainbow.
So a question that we need to answer is, what do other people think about it? Well, mostly the reviews for the series are actually pretty positive, including IMBD, which gave it an 8.5 out of 10. One of the best quotes in the review that I've heard is, "Twisted, sick, yet beautiful," as I don't think I could put it better myself. The reviewer called it a unique experience, as he explains how the art style is great with all the bizarre animations, and definitely can be enjoyed by art enthusiasts. The visuals are definitely something to admire. On first watch, a lot of people claim that it didn't make much sense to them. One reviewer said, "It does seem like random ramblings of a lunatic when he first watched it, but after a second watch people seem to appreciate it more, e.g. the design." So it's fair to say Salad Fingers definitely received good feedback, mostly for its originality I think. I think it just takes that second time to watch it to fully appreciate it fully.
Today, I'm going to try and find France, because I've always wanted to go there.
Overall, I think Salad Fingers is a great series. It's creepy, funny, original, and combines these traits really well together. When David Firth claimed that part of his inspiration for the show was dreams that he's had in the past and how they randomly flow into each other, it definitely shows in the series. It will jump to one extreme to the other and you just never know what's going to happen next, to be honest, and I like that. Salad Fingers has a gloomy and dark design which I admire and captures your attention as soon as you switch it on. Personally, this is my favourite show by Firth. I believe it is the most entertaining, as literally it is like watching a dream, and there is not a point when I'm not engaged in it. The visual style has a very saturated horror kind of colour palette, which really sets the mood for the show. Lastly, something I really love about Salad Fingers is that it doesn't follow any linear storyline, and because it doesn't, people can make their own interpretations of what the plot is about. I've seen so many people online post their own opinions on what they think this plot is about, and there's been so many different ideas, it's just great. So overall, I think Salad Fingers is a great series.
I may have a burnt face, but that doesn't mean I can't fight crime! Take that, crime, you shit! Of course, that wasn't really crime. That was just a box with crime written on it.
So next on our list is Burnt Face Man. Definitely one of the more light-hearted animation series that David's produced. It's more focused on comedy than anything else. It's about a fictional superhero, also known as Stanley Sage, that has the ability to fly, shoot sonic blasts, etc. and has two main foes, which are Bastard Man and Man Spider. At a young age, he had his face burnt badly, so he made this mission to prove that this tragic accident would not affect his ability to become a superhero and fight crime.
24 hours earlier, Burnt Face Man was face to face with the mighty Gastropod Overlord. Enjoy your last breath, Gaylord.
Spare me, mighty superhero, for I am only fulfilling my duties.
Fulfill this! But what did the papers say?
So what do people think about it? Well, David Firth usually goes for a darker approach to his work. Even if there's comedy added, there's still some usually twisted, gloomy vibe to his work. However, Burnt Face Man took a completely different route, and it was just a straight-out comedy series, and people really took a liking to it. Fans of the show are still talking about it today, even with it being 10 years old, saying things like, "I've watched it a million times, watching them all again now," and that came from a fan review on Newgrounds. This show is very successful. People love the humour of it, and it still has the element of going from one extreme to the other like a dream. A lot of people believe that the voices are really well synced, and that it's very well animated. So as a verdict, Burnt Face Man got a good reception, as viewers are still talking about it today.
Although the graphics aren't quite up to par with Steven Seagal's Safari, the gameplay and longevity more than make up for it. The AI is quite impressive, and the voices make you feel like you're in the presence of the movie star himself.
So what do I think about it? Well, for me personally, I'll always prefer Salad Fingers. Perhaps it's the fact that it was my first experience watching Firth's work. However, that does not mean that I didn't take pleasure watching it. It's a hilarious show and kept me entertained throughout all 9 episodes with its in-your-face animations and just sheer randomness. One thing I really admire is the character models, as they are very imaginative design and they just look completely off the wall. It's fair to say you won't find anything like Burnt Face Man while browsing the internet, which is why it's so authentic. I have to agree, the voiceovers are just brilliant, so much enthusiasm, it just makes it all the more humorous. I guess the only bad thing I can say about it is probably just the fact of the duration of the videos. I felt like every time I got intrigued by an episode, it just cut short. So I expected more, I guess, but besides that, I have no complaints of it, and Burt Famous Man is a good series. So last on the list is Doggerman, definitely one of the more stranger pieces that Dave has produced. But then again, saying that, David has produced some weird stuff, but this one in particular has caught me off guard. It has not much of a storyline, it's mainly just down to interpretation, to be honest. The piece is a short animation and it isn't a continued series. It uses a dark and saturated colour palette that is very eye-catching, and the design of the locations are bleak, almost like all the colour and life has been drained out of it. The design fits the concept, it's fair to say it isn't much of a happy storyline, and it'll probably make you question your sanity upon watching it. The story itself, from what's presented, is a man that seems to have some form of depression. He also has a pet dog which is his companion, and he gets sad when his plant dies, so the dog tries to help him out by getting him a new one. However, somehow he plants a seed inside of him that makes him develop a fatal tumour that could potentially end his life. So the dog offers the man his body to replace his own, so the man will live. There is a lot of explanation needed, but on the other hand, that is the beauty interpretation.
You'd have a true friend if you had your own tumour.
With an animation as usual as this, it's bound to spark a range of opinions. Some people claim that there's a deep meaning behind it, as one reviewer found it emotional, saying that they knew what the creator was trying to say, which they thought was that there was a strong bond between the dog and the man, and it applies to everyday life, e.g. people who care about each other, making sacrifices for one another. However, other reviewers found it utterly meaningless, but yet entertaining, as some just see it as a black humour animation with no real plot behind it. Unlike Salad Fingers and Burnt Face Man, which are all around good reviews, Doggerman gave people mixed opinions. People either loved it, or they hated it. So, my opinion was that I personally liked Doggerman. It's truly nothing like I've seen before, and I take interest in things that catch me off guard like that. Although there isn't really a distinct plot, I enjoy watching it and trying to conjure up my own ideas of what's actually going on. I love the colour palette used, I believe it really fits the dark atmosphere of the animation, which also leads me on to the music. Negative and haunting sums it up for me. As the scenarios happen in the film, the music gets more darker, which is really effective. So as a verdict, I really enjoyed Doggerman. It was weird, sinister, and left me thinking for a while after watching it. It's not my favourite by him, but definitely a good piece.